Now for a closer look at the numbers is Loan Sharp, Labour Market Analyst at Adcorp. Loan, thank you so much for making the time to join us. Firstly, what is your reaction to this figure that we see today, 25.6%?
Yeah, it's not a surprise. I think in general the economy is in a very poor state. There seemed to be a recovery during the course of 2012, but that recovery was a false dawn. So for cyclical reasons, the economy is weak, so employment understandably will be weak. But for me, what is much more interesting is not the cyclical changes, but it's our high formal sector unemployment rate. Why is it so high, and when are we going to address it? What are the obstacles to addressing it? I think Dawie in the segment reflected on labour laws and regulations. It's not that all labour laws need to be thrown out. Mm-hmm. There are two that are problematic. The first is protecting an employee unduly against dismissal. Not being able to dismiss someone for poor on-the-job performance. It's very difficult. And the other labour law that is problematic is collective bargaining, sector-level bargaining in general, which pushes up wages above the cost of living, above what is justified by productivity. So the solutions are actually quite straightforward to our very deep formal sector unemployment problems.
Before we go to the solutions, Loan, if we looked at the collective bargaining that you've just touched on, to what extent does that in itself erect further barriers that stop other people from being able to gain into or make entry into the labour market?
You know, a government in South Africa has been focusing on the supply side, which is to say how skilled people are and how many skills they have to offer to employers. And government hasn't really been looking at the demand side. What is it that gives rise within businesses for the appetite to employ people? And I think that's a major problem. We don't have mechanisms in South Africa to review labour laws and regulations in total. So something that's very popular, I think, and that I'm promoting, is that we have a labour law commission of inquiry of the kind we last had in 1977. It's time that we had a judge, a retired labour court judge, who could take all the evidence, make recommendations to government, and change the laws once and for all.
And in the short term, before we get to the proposals of where we could see such a commission taking place, what are the short-term solutions that are available to young people and unemployed young people in South Africa who are looking to make some sort of entry into the labour market?
Look, the situation for young people is desperate. The secondary education system has totally failed them, in the sense that they're not being prepared for work or for tertiary education. The tertiary education system has let young people down because we're not really admitting people into qualifications that are needed by the economy. So the whole education system is working against employment for young people. But if you wanted to look at advice for young people, I think if you're in the top 1% academically, you need to become a professional, a lawyer, accountant, doctor, etc., engineer. If you're not in the top 1%, you have to go into your own business. And it's probably going to be a small retail business, a child-minding business, a micro brewing business, a little transport business in the townships of South Africa. Those are the sorts of things that young people can do. But it's very difficult because the demand for labour is not there. And that's fundamentally the issue. We can fiddle around on the supply side all we like. If the demand for labour is not there, all of these initiatives will go to waste.
Do you agree with some of the sentiments that were shared by Dawie Roodt on the clip that we've just saw? He is speaking about a mismatch between the absorption rate as well as what and the number of job seekers that are entering the labour market, and that those two rates and those two paces are just not the same.
Well, there are two major discrepancies. The first is on the demand side. the economy needs to grow 4% per annum just to absorb the additional school leavers from the secondary education system. The economy, according to our modelling, needs to grow 8% or higher to make significant inroads into our formal sector employment problem. So that's one of the disconnects. We're not seeing the growth that leads to the demand for labour. The second disconnect is between what young people are studying and what the workplace requires. Our universities are in this very secure position where they can direct young black students in particular into the arts, humanities and social sciences and leave white students in engineering and medicine and accounting largely alone. Our universities are fundamentally untransformed, and that is another major obstacle for young people.